Hola, welcome back to my channel. It is 5 o'clock, December 31st, 2019, and I have been wanting so bad to film a video of the last decade in review, and I have had no time, no place, no perfect setup, so I just snuck in my backyard while my husband and my brother are back here working, and I'm just gonna give you guys a quick, candid last 10 years in review because it has been quite the decade for me. So 2010, the very first big thing that happened in 2010 was my high school best friend went into the military. He joined the Air Force, and it was my senior year of high school. Around the time he was graduating basic training and I was graduating high school, he became bae. Nathaniel and I started quote-unquote dating in 2010, and that would be the thing that would forever change my life, of course. Hold on, son. I graduated high school, turned 18, he came home to visit, and he got orders to Germany. So he moved to Germany, and then I moved out of my parents' house. I went into this, it was kind of like a Bible-based program through my church, and we traveled a lot, and we did a lot of we did some missions trips, and we just did ministry, and I went straight into that for a year. And that was just a lot of big things happening at once. I turned 18, I got in my first serious relationship, he moved to Germany, I moved out of my parents' house, and really started my journey with the Lord in a real deep way. That's where I would develop my passion for ministry and just grow deeper in who I was as a woman of God. 2019 rolls around. I'm debating whether to stay in my hometown and work at the church or go off to college. My boyfriend comes back from Germany to visit, and we get engaged. That was the biggest thing that happened that year. Nathaniel and I got engaged. I was 19 years old, he was 20, and shortly after we got engaged, the decision of college or going or staying home was pretty clear because my little brother at the time needed somebody to take care of him. He was only, I think, 11 years old, and I took guardianship of him, and so two big things happened that year for me as well. Got engaged, took guardianship of a 10-year-old, my little brother, and that was beautiful time in my life of growth, of learning myself, of learning sacrificial love in a whole new way, and I started planning a wedding. 2012 rolls around, and Nathaniel comes back from Germany and meets me at the altar. Literally, he comes back from Germany. We get married a few days later. He had just turned 21. I was 1 month shy of turning 20. We began our journey as husband and wife. Best thing that ever happened to me in this entire decade was saying I do to the man who literally surpasses my wildest dreams. And so that was 2012, June 3rd, we got married. And a couple weeks later, I moved to Germany with Nathaniel. That was a huge thing. I was 19, going on 20, married, and moved out of country. Nathaniel and I spent all of that year just growing in the Lord together. Traveling Europe. I mean, we went to Spain, we went to London, we went to Paris, we went to Switzerland, Austria. We just traveled Europe. I got to work what was my dream job at the time. I got to do personal styling and manage a fashion boutique for a European fashion designer who I just randomly met out shopping one day. And yeah, that was just a beautiful time for us. It felt like 1 year long honeymoon of just being together, of just celebrating our love for one another and growing in the Lord. We really started to establish a foundation of who we were as the Richardsons, and that was definitely my favorite part about that year. We met some amazing friends who would be lifelong friends no matter how far we live from each other now. And I don't know, that was just a good year. It was, I till this day say that was probably my favorite year of my entire life because it was just filled with genuine love. It was drama free. We had not a single fight our first year of marriage. I mean, it was just a beautiful year. 2013 rolls around, and we were going to be leaving Germany that year. We celebrated our 1 year anniversary, and a month later, we were going to Spain for my 21st birthday. Gosh, we were so young. And I found out I was pregnant with Noah. I was, I think, 9 weeks pregnant when I found out. We were very much in shock. It was not like we were planning to have a baby at all anytime soon. But there would be another thing that would just make our life so much richer. In August of 2013, we moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we began our very long journey here that we thought was going to only be 2 years. We moved here. God really just started showing himself to us in a whole new way. I think that was a time of growth for us, because we were figuring out, like, we're living in a new state, we're going to become parents. Just Nathaniel starting a new job, and I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, and everything was just so new all over again. It's like every single year, if you're keeping up, it was just something big, something new happening. So we moved here. We met, again, amazing friends. We just got, God bless us, an amazing community. Here is where I really got involved in ministry with the Navigators, which later on you will see became such a big part of my life. And yeah, we were just settling in our first house. We got a little house, and that was it. 2013. 2014 rolls around, and that would probably be one of the most beautiful yet hardest years of my entire life. January of 2014, my precious grandfather passed away. My grandpa Gary, he was just a foundational piece of our family, and who just of joy and love for us. And I was, I think, 37 weeks pregnant at the time, and I couldn't go to his funeral, and it was just a very devastating way to start the year, knowing that my first child would be born only a couple weeks later. And it was just a true experience of God giving me joy for my mourning, because the day that they buried my grandfather was the day that I gave birth to my sweet Noah. Nathaniel and I had our first son. That was just beautiful. We literally, 32 hours of very long, hard labor, but worshiped Noah into this world. Literally praying, worshiping, crying out to the Lord. Noah was born, and it was really God giving me beauty for the ashes of that we have received when my grandfather passed away. And then sadly, 3 weeks after Noah was born, my abuela passed away, my grandma Lucy, my mom's mom. Another just foundational person in my life, somebody who is just a big reason of why I am who I am. I loved her dearly. If you don't know, my mom went to prison when I was 6 years old, and was in prison for over 20 years. And my grandma, her mom, just really stepped up and just loved us well. So that was a hard loss, but still I had my son, to love. And so it was a beautiful mess going on that year. A couple months after Noah was born, my older brother got in a really bad car accident, and it was just another devastation. By the grace of God, he's okay, and we still have him, and he's doing perfectly fine. But at the time, receiving the news was just really devastating. After my grandmother died, 3 of her sisters passed away, just right back to back. And one of Nathaniel's cousins also was killed, being hit by a car. And it was just a year full of loss. That's what it felt like. But ultimately, we got the greatest gain, because we became parents. And so when I think of that year, I think of joy and mourning. And so 2014 was really hard, but it was also the biggest year of our lives. We became parents. 2015 rolls around, and gosh, we love being parents. We loved having Noah. We knew we wanted another baby, and sure enough, we got pregnant. Noah was about 1 year old when we found out. He had just turned when we found out we were pregnant with our second son, Uriah. And that was the biggest thing that happened for us that year, is that we gave birth to little Uriah James. Nathaniel ranked up. He ranked up in the military and got a promotion, and we had Uriah. It's been such a beautiful addition to our family, and it was just a good year of peace and stability, bringing our sweet Uriah into the world, who again would just make our lives so much richer and better. And he was the highlight of that year, and it was just a peaceful year after having suffered so much loss in 2014. 2015 was beautiful. And then 2016 rolls around. Now, we love our children, and we were looking forward to having a big family, but we were not expecting to find out that I was pregnant when Uriah was only months old. 2016 was really chill. We were enjoying the 2 boys. We, visiting home as usual. We were just it was chill. It was a chill year. And I one day was sick. I thought I was getting the flu or something. It was around my birthday, and I went to the doctor and they said I was pregnant, and they did an ultrasound and I was very pregnant. When we found out we were pregnant with Ezra, I think I was 13 weeks. I had no idea I was pregnant. And so yeah, I found out we were pregnant, and just a week after finding out I was pregnant with him, my grandma passed away, my stepmom's mom. Just another really important person to me that I just love very dearly. She had been battling cancer for, I want to say, about 7 or 8 years, and she passed away. And so I flew home, found out that Ezra was our third boy, had her funeral, mourned with my stepmom at the loss of now her second parent, which was really hard. And yeah, I just realized, I think in 2016 I started to acknowledge that life was just very precious and very fragile, very fragile. We had a lot of complications in our pregnancy with Ezra. They thought he had spinal bifida. I had internal bleeding. I was put on bed rest, and then my cousins at 39 weeks pregnant, their baby girl's heart stopped, and they gave birth to a stillborn baby. That was a true devastation for our family. That one hit really hard. We were so excited to welcome precious Aria into the world, and it just, I carried so much guilt because Cairo, it's okay, because I was pregnant and I had all these complications, but my baby still had a heartbeat. So they buried sweet Aria. I wasn't able to make it because I was on bed rest with internal bleeding, pregnant with Ezra. And so that year kind of ended at a low point. It was really hard to celebrate the life that was coming from me when we had to lose such a precious life. So like I said, another year, Cairo, another year of just that year really taught me that life is fragile and life is precious, and taught me a lot about gratitude. 2017 rolls around, January, 38 weeks pregnant. I was 38 weeks pregnant, January 11th. What the heck? My mother-in-law just showed up. Hey! My mother-in-law definitely just surprised me. But so January 11, 2017, I went into labor with Ezra, and I had never had complications in labor really before with the other two boys, and so I just expected another regular experience. And my mentor slash friend slash doula, Natasha, was with me and Nathaniel. We were just praying and worshiping, walking the halls of the hospital, laboring. Everything was fine. I got an epidural, and just moments later I started to bleed out. We started to lose Ezra's heart rate, and then they started to lose my heart rate. I went into an emergency C-section. All I remember was hearing the doctor say, "Let's save the baby first," and and I was just afraid for my life. The last thing I remember saying to my husband is, "Take care of our boys," and I thought that I was gonna die that day. And the doctor managed to get Ezra out in just 2 minutes. It was such a very fast, very intense experience. Extremely painful, as you can imagine. And he saved my life. I dealt with a lot of bleeding issues, and just like bleeding out after, like for weeks and even months after having Ezra. And that just triggered like a really severe anxiety for me. That was a really rough year. Ezra was such a beautiful addition to our family, and my little wild child of God, who is just literally has brought so much life into our family. And I valued his life so much, especially after, you know, what had happened with my cousin's daughter. But I really struggled that year with severe anxiety, which led to depression. I had bad postpartum depression. One of the doctors that I went to see diagnosed me with, which sounds weird, but with PTSD, because I kept thinking I was dying. I kept having these moments where I would like start to lose my breath and have these anxiety attacks because I thought I was dying, or I thought I was like bleeding, and I wasn't. And it was just really intense. It was a lot to work through, and in that time, God was really teaching me a lot about what it looks like to just rest, because in that year I had no rest. My mind was never at rest. My body never felt at rest. I developed a lot of like health issues. I was in and out of doctors, going to see specialists, and then having this anxiety, and it was just really intense. But I ended 2017 just with a really grateful heart, because I will never forget being at my parents' house on New Year's Eve going into 2018 and just realizing that like life was very rich. I had 3 healthy, beautiful children. I had a thriving marriage, just a family that was just so full of love. My family and my in-laws was very near and dear and close to my heart. And I resolved that 2018 would be just a year of becoming, and that was my word for the following year. And 2018 was just that. All I can say about that year was, we didn't have any babies, surprisingly, that year. But in 2017 also we bought our first house. Let me not forget that. We bought our first house, which is this beautiful house that we live in today. We're just so blessed, you guys. We love our home. We love the life we've built in this home. We love the memories we've already made in this home. And so yeah, that was a big deal in 2017. So then 2018 rolls around and we're making our house a home. We are just filling it with people, which is what we love to do. Our Noah started preschool, which we decided to homeschool him. So we started homeschooling him for preschool. I started doing college full time. My photography business was thriving. I was doing some social media stuff for some local businesses. My social media was thriving. So I was like really picking up on getting collabs and getting paid for them and blogging and all of that. And Nathaniel had some struggles with his own like mental health that year, and having like ping-ponged some mental health issues between the two of us is really what it felt like. We both ended 2018 just like so close. Like in all of these years, by the way, God has just been so good in my marriage. Like I just want to just touch back and say that like every year, through everything that I was going through everything that every year brought, like my marriage like continued to thrive, and God was just so faithful in that. And so when I was having my struggles, Nathaniel was my rock. When Nathaniel was having his struggles last year in 2018, I was his rock, and only because God is the foundation of us both. And that's something that I really learned this past decade. So 2018 was just full of growth, a lot of growth, growing out of anxiety, which is still a struggle, but not that severe. Growing in understanding of what it looks like to just have rest. Learning a lot about who we were now as grown-ups and parents and homeowners and all of those things. And it was just a beautiful year of growth, 2018. My word for the year on my vision board was becoming, and it felt like just that. And then 2019, here we are. The end of 2018, we found out that God had just filled my womb again. My husband. We found out we were pregnant with Solomon in December of 2018, and that was definitely the highlight of that year. When I told Nathaniel that I was pregnant, I just remember him crying, because he felt like even through all his turmoil and struggle that year, God had given us such a beautiful gift, another baby. And we love being parents, you guys, so we're never like, oh my gosh, we're pregnant again. Like, no, we were excited. We wanted another baby, and so that was really just a rich way to end that year. And then I was really sick. So I started 2019 pretty rough, sick, in the hospital on IVs. My first time being pregnant and sick ever. That was a little rough. So that was a surprise, and it was rough. My friend lived with us at the time, and Nathaniel and her helped me a lot with the kids, and I was still homeschooling Noah, traveling with ministry. I forgot to say that in 2015 I came on staff with the organization called the Navigators, which is a huge part of my life, just doing ministry. I do Bible study out of my home. We open our home, we hold events for airmen and for military families, and we serve the Lord in whatever capacity He would use us. Sometimes I have the privilege to travel and speak at conferences, and to hold workshops at conferences. I get to sit on really cool boards and teams and help cast vision for the ministry organization, and that's just such a huge part of my life that I don't often share with my social media following, but I just want to reiterate. So I've been doing that since 2015. Anyway, so in 2019 I got some opportunities to travel with the navigators, to do some speaking, to have more Bible study with the active duty military women and just serve them and serve the military community here in Albuquerque, which has just been beautiful. We had Nathaniel's little brother come live with us, Xavier. He's 16 years old, and he came and lived with us, and that was a beautiful addition to our family as well. And Nathaniel and I both just felt like we had peace of mind, like both of us, like this year. And then God gave us a baby boy, and he was healthy and he was beautiful, and we had the hardest time naming him. And 1 week after he was born, Nathaniel came to me and he said, God, God has given us peace this year. Our marriage is thriving. Our relationships are thriving with our family. I think we should name him Solomon because it means peace. And we named him Solomon, and he has been the most peaceful addition to our family yet. 2019, my mom also came home. My God blessed us like in such a huge way by bringing her home after almost 21 years being in prison. So we just received what felt like blessing on blessing this year. My mom came home, Xavier came to live with us, and then Solomon was born, and it was just blessing on blessing on blessing. And my son started kindergarten this year, which was really, really hard for me. We sent him to school. We sent him to a really amazing school, and it was a challenge, but it was necessary. And it felt like another leap in our parenthood journey, is sending one kid off to school. And so we're ending this year and this decade just blessed. That is the thing I can say about this last decade is, gosh, I've felt tremendous loss. I have felt tremendous sorrow and sadness. I have experienced what felt like true tragedy in my family. Not everything has always been beautiful, but in the mess, God has really given us beauty. Like from the ashes, He has really risen up beautiful things. We have learned so much. I won't speak for my husband because this is my blog, but I have learned so much in this decade. Just growing up, I really grew up, genuinely became an adult in the last 10 years. I turned 18 in 2010, and here I am going into the 20s, just feeling the immeasurable grace of God in a way that I never would have imagined. I have lived in and out of the country. I have moved out of my parents' house. I've gotten married. I've given birth to 4 children. Nathaniel and I have lived in several homes, but we bought our own home almost 3 years ago, which has been filled with people literally living with us on and off, serving the community, hosting people, we never have an empty home. I've homeschooled. I've sent my son off to kindergarten. Nathaniel and I have seen each other through loss in our families, through struggles with anxiety and depression. And here we are, almost 10 years together. Thank you, honey. See, he always got my back. He turned the light on, so it's getting dark. Going on 8 years of marriage and feeling like stronger and more sure of the man that I married than I've ever felt about anything in my life except for Jesus. Just really blessed. Like this decade has been blessed. And I think if I can say one thing that God has really taught me through having had a decade full of tragic loss and immeasurable grace and such rich gain, is that even still it is well. That is probably what I can say about this last 10 years is, despite all of the people, the friendships, and the things that we have lost, the sickness, the sorrows, the sadness, God has just really given us joy for our mourning. And I feel like I'll go into this next decade now that whatever it holds, even still, it is well with my soul. And I pray that for everyone watching this video, that whatever this next decade has to bring, that you are able to just hold on to joy, that you are able to find grace and have peace, because those are some of the things that my decade was filled with: grace, peace, so much love. And I look forward to what this next 10 years has to offer. Thank you for coming to my channel, for sitting through my decade in review. Woo, what was that? Okay. Thank you for coming to my channel. Sitting through this video. I want to try to get my nails done tomorrow. We're gonna have a new decade starting tomorrow. May God, the peace of God be with you. May His joy fill your cup in this coming year, in this coming decade. May you truly know genuine joy. Joy that is not swayed because of circumstance or situation, but joy that brings forth peace in your life. Happy New Year's. So much love to everybody on my social media and everybody watching this video. I look forward to this journey and growing as a family and just letting you all be a part of it. Thank you for coming to my channel. Hasta luego.